dictionary definition of a pet, you'll find that it says a tamed or domesticated animal kept for companionship or pleasure. I can only begin to tell you how much that sentence undermines the amount that an animal can bring into your life. In 2018, I found a kitten on the streets near my house. She was orphaned and being attacked by other cats. I started giving her food and water every day after school, but winter was approaching and I was becoming increasingly uncomfortable with leaving her on the streets by herself. That was when I first suggested that we foster her. Fostering is giving an animal a temporary place to rest and recover until they find their forever homes. My parents said no to the idea, so I did what any kid would do and sat on the streets crying until they gave in. I didn't know a lot about cats. I thought that her purring was just her snoring, but after a while I began to learn more. I started getting up at 5 every day so that I'd have time to play with her before school. And even as an 11-year-old, I was responsible enough to feed and clean her. Eventually, someone contacted us to adopt her. Little did I know, this was the start of a long journey. Everywhere you look, there's an animal in need, and it quickly became my mission to help as many as I could. So far, I have fostered and rescued 85 animals, including dogs, cats, and birds. Some of them are ones which I've saved myself, and others have come from shelters such as Animals Lebanon, Beta, and Beirut Pet Tales. Through natural disasters and the global pandemic, saving animals gave me a focus, and I didn't have time to worry about whatever else was going on. Their happiness was the priority, and seeing them go off to find their forever homes was the best form of therapy. They also provided me with companionship, which was particularly important during lockdown, where I would join my Zooms surrounded by playful kittens. My most ambitious foster was a puppy named Elsie, who was found dumped in a box in the streets of Shrefat. Someone had DM'd my Instagram asking if we could help, and we took on the case. After 4 hours, I managed to remove 306 of her ticks. She had anemia and alopecia because of her parasites. After a few months, she was finally old enough to find her forever home in Canada, where she's now happily living, playing in the snow. My most recent rescue is Francesca. This was a large rescue because I wasn't sure how I would handle her. She had been found on the highway with 2 broken legs. My mom had said no to bring her in, and after 30 minutes of negotiation, she'd still said no, so I brought her home anyway. Francesca had a huge fear of humans, so I began socializing her until she began running to me every time I entered the room. We had operated on her, and she was now able to walk again because of our efforts. Francesca is now happy with her adopters. I find a real sense of achievement that I changed the life of a cat who was on the streets, left for dead, to a cat that is now fully healed and living the best life. Each foster comes with its own set of challenges. I faced eye infections, ear mites, prolapses, viruses, funguses, ticks, worms, concussions, and even behavioral issues such as depression and anxiety. At first, I thought that this was impossible. I felt as though I couldn't be responsible for such severe cases. So for myself, this has been a learning process. I eventually learned that this is actually something that anybody can do, and there's plenty of people who will help along the way. A few years ago, I found an injured cat on the streets. I contacted an NGO who immediately picked him up and treated him until he found his forever home in America. I now know that this is the kind of thing which I can deal with myself. However, not all stories have a happy ending. Some of them aren't able to make it, and I feel sad and even guilty for the ones which I can't save. As I'm only human, I can't save all of them, so I also try to find other ways of help, such as sharing the stories on social media. Animal abuse is a worldwide issue. Here in Lebanon, there are always cases of animals being dumped, abused, and shot. This gave me the idea to write 2 children's books based on true stories with the hope of getting children to love animals. The first book is Kittens in a Box. This tells the story of when we found a box of kittens being kicked by passers-by in the streets. On our way home, the mother cat jumped out of the box and bit my mom, and she had to go to the ER. But apart from that, everything went fine. We found adopters for all 5 of the kittens, and the mother cat was then spayed, and she found an adopter as well. The second book, Puppy in a Hole, is about a rescue I did, saving a dog from an abandoned well in Baabda. As there was little time to prepare for the rescue, the volunteers tied their old dog leads around my legs and arms and lowered me down a 6-meter abandoned well. There were huge spiders on the wall, and I was terrified. Once the puppy was on safe ground, a vet check confirmed that he was blind, concussed, and had a large abscess on his head. We kept him until he found his forever home in England. All of the proceeds of these books goes towards people who can't afford to keep their pets, but would very much like to do so. In the future, I would like to launch an education program in schools, trying to get children to love animals as much as I do. A question I receive a lot asks why I put majority of my focus into animals over humans. But the truth is, helping animals helps humans just as much. Firstly, I do support human charities, and secondly, most people love pets as much as their family. So by giving these people a chance to keep their pets, we're not only helping the animal, but we're helping the people keep their best friends. So how have animals helped me? Helping animals have helped to bring me out of my shell. I used to be a very shy person, and I was actually almost mute, yet here I am now giving this speech. Animals have given me a focus in challenging times. They have inspired me to write books. They've given me great friendships. They make me cry, they make me laugh, but they'll always be there for me. They'll always protect me. I'm happy I help animals, but they help me more. And if this talk has inspired you to foster an animal, your parents might say no, in which case just sit on the floor and cry or bring them home anyway. Thank you.